Hallo, herzlich willkommen hier bei Wir sind hier. Wenn ich auch einfach mal kurz vorstellen kann, mein Name ist Dancing Wing, ich werde heute jetzt die Session ein bisschen begleiten, aber der wirkliche Star dieser Session, das ist Talya Feldman und wir werden dieses Gespräch auf Englisch führen. Hallo Talya, how are you?
Good.
So, this is Talya Feldman, you're an artist, you are a political activist, you're so many things, but tell me, today we are here for Wir sind hier, a project. We called it when we did the program, a digital memorial, like remembrance in the digital space. So, who are you? What are you doing? And yeah, Talya Feldman, what kind of persona are you?
Well, first of all, thank you all for being here. It's very nice and very important to be able to present this project here at Republica and in Hamburg, of course, especially because the project actually started here in Hamburg. So the project is called, as you can see, Wir sind hier, so we are here. And the point of the project is to be a space where especially families of victims of racism, anti-Semitism, and police violence across Germany can claim spaces of remembrance in public space. And of course, that is different for every person, as remembrance is different for every person. So it looks anything like claiming the favorite places of the person that they've lost, to demanding street names to be renamed, for monuments, or even for the places where the injustice occurred. So for some families, they say in this project, I cannot have remembrance until I have justice. And so for them, claiming those spaces of injustice, like the courthouses or the police stations, are incredibly important. And so this project, in a lot of ways, is a space where we can kind of reimagine our city spaces if we were to really listen to the voices of the people affected, of the families in particular, who have been fighting for this remembrance in the public space, some of whom for many, many decades. So this is the kind of core of the project, and maybe I can also share a bit of the inspiration, although I think Dante has some questions along the way.
So before we go to the inspiration, I mean, now we see a lot of names, and I think a lot of people don't know who these names are. So what are these people?
Yeah, so I think a lot of the wording or the answer to your question, Dante, is actually an answer that I've heard you give before. Is so often when we are talking about victims of terror, of racism, anti-Semitism, police violence, it comes that we see these names, or people will tell me when they see this work or when they see it. Also, at the moment, we also show it in exhibition spaces as an audio-video installation. And when people see that and they hear the voices of the families speaking and they see these spaces in their cities and they say, I recognize those spaces, I live on that street, I never knew this story. I never knew Samra Ertan's story. I never knew Shahin Shalashir in Neuss. I never heard it. And the answer that I like to give is that it's not that these people, the families, have not always been speaking. It's that we have not been listening. And so that's something that Dante often says in response to this. And I think that's really the core of also the project, is how do we listen to these voices? And in listening, how do we then change our cities so that this violence does not continue? So this Remembrance Project is a space not only for remembrance, but also for resistance.
Give us an example. Who is Samra Ertan?
So Samra Ertan, and you can also see her on the website already as well. So maybe I walk us through a little bit of the digital space at the moment. Hopefully you can see it on the screens. So when you go to wir-sin-hier.digital, you can go on your phones, you can go online. We also have an exhibition up at the moment at the NS Documentation Center in Munich. So if you happen through Munich, it's a very beautiful installation that they've built for the project. And you go to the website and you see the list of names. And it's an ongoing project. We've been now working on it for almost 3 years. And so new families, new names are added all the time. If you go to Samra Ertan, for instance, you see a map of actually St. Pauli, here where we are today. And you see the space, the street that her family, the family of Samra Ertan, has been fighting to claim for many, many years. So Samra Ertan died in 1982 here in Hamburg. She committed an act of lighting herself on fire on the corner here in St. Pauli as a protest against the ongoing and very severe racism in Germany at the time that is unfortunately still present. And her family has been fighting to rename that street here in Hamburg to Samra Ertan Strasse. And I think it's the Simon von Utrecht Strasse, which is very close to here. And they want to rename it to Samra Ertan Strasse.
It's actually down the street. It's like it's just a 2 minutes walk where Samra Ertan has died.
Exactly. And I think something that's very important as well when thinking of this project, and also something that I think we can learn very, very well from the family of Samra Ertan, is that in claiming these spaces of remembrance, it is not to remember the death, but it is to remember and to honor the life. Samra Ertan was a poet. She was an activist. She contributed over 300 poems to the canon of German literature. And if you haven't seen her book already, her family published a book of her poems called Mein Name ist Ausländer. It's a beautiful, powerful book of poetry. And so in claiming these spaces as well, this is also what it's saying, is we are recognizing the lives lived and not the deaths. Or not only, I should say, the deaths. And so when you go to Samra Ertan, for example, you see this map, and you see the spaces that the family is wishing and has been fighting for. And then you click on the name, and you'll see a map appear, and I think maybe we'll take a moment to listen to it. You see the city spaces, and you also hear the voice of the family. And so every family, it's different what they choose to say. For some, it's a letter that they've written. For some, it's a poem. For some, it's a song. For some, it's a speech that they gave at a commemoration. And I don't know if it's working.
But maybe before we listen to it, maybe before we listen to it,
yes.
Or can we stop for a sec? Because you are missing one very, very big information out, Talya.
Oh, okay.
Because you talk about remembrance and you talk about the family, but I think what this project makes it very, very special is that it is a project also from the families,
yes,
from the people who survived, from affected people. So how did you do that? Why do we need to bring the families together for remembrance in Germany?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to also the title of this project, Wir sind hier. So in saying we are here, it's not only to say that the names of these victims that we are remembering are here, but also the families, the survivors, the friends are here and have been fighting for a long time, not only for remembrance, but for change within our political systems, within our police systems. And I think that those voices are incredibly important to listen to. I think at the same time, there's a very powerful statement from Ibrahim Arslan, who is also part of this project, who lives here in Hamburg as well, who's a survivor from the arson attack in Mulm from 1992. And he often says that there should be nothing about us without us. And the people affected and the families are here and are waiting and wanting to be heard. And so I think that in working so closely with the people, it's also been an incredibly empowering project to explore what does remembrance mean if we really listen to the people who are asking and calling for that remembrance. And at the same time, what does it mean in the sense that it is different for every person, as I said before, that remembrance is changing all the time. And I think having that also be in the digital space, which this project is also important for that reason. The fact that remembrance changes means that if a family, and this actually has happened, where even the family of Samra Ertan, first at the start of the project 3 years ago, they chose a poem, to read a poem over the video that we filmed together. And then after a year or two, they said, actually, we would actually prefer if the audio is of the sister of Samra Ertan, Zuhal Billermeier, reading a letter that she wrote to her sister. And so we changed it. And what this also means is that the project changes as is necessary for the people involved. And it also means that if a family decides at any point that they don't want to be part of it anymore, then that is also their right. So it's an always changing, always adapting, living archive, digital space.
So you mentioned resistance too in this project. So what you actually highlighted was all these individual families. They chose how they want to remember in a way. So and this is not like what we do something when we have an annual like an anniversary of like arson attacks. We normally have we sometimes have state remembrance days or something like that. Why is this project so different from a state remembrance culture?
I think the honest truth is so often those remembrance practices do not involve the people who are actually affected. And that is the sad truth of our society as a whole. And I think for a lot of these families, they feel that their remembrance or their particular, what they wish for, what they hope for change is not being heard in the sense that they are not included in the remembrance in their cities. They are not invited even to participate in these remembrance politics, or even in a lot of cases, they are not even recognized as victims, as families of people who were killed in racist or police violence. So I think that is also why this project is important, because, for instance, for example, the family Satir and Turhan, who were killed in an arson attack in 1984 in Duisburg, they are still today not recognized. This attack is not recognized as a racist attack. And I think that in that sense, that means that you have a family, survivors, who are not supported. And they are not given recognition, they are not supported by the city, and they are not supported by the state. And that also, I think you can also say the same for the family of Yahya Jabi, who here in Hamburg suspiciously died in a police station here in Hamburg. And the information, the clarity, the justice, the investigation was never done. And so this too is another instance where this family is not recognized, their pain is not recognized, and the remembrance that they are seeking is actually what they've been fighting for is here in St. Pauli at Park Fiction. Yeah, at Park Fiction, there's a traffic circle. And the traffic circle was one of Yahya Jabi's favorite places to meet his friends. And so the family has been fighting for many, many years to rename that circle to Yahya Jabi Circle. And the city refuses. The city refuses not because it's already named and there's already a name there, because there is no name to this traffic circle, but because they don't want to acknowledge that perhaps there was a very severe injustice within the police system here in Hamburg that allowed for the death of Yahya Jabi to occur. And so there's a lot of shirking of responsibility when it comes to remembrance. A lot of times, too, the family of Samer Ertan, the city has said to them, we don't want to rename this street to Samer Ertan Straße because we think that it would encourage people to commit, to take their own lives. At which point you say, it's missing the whole point of this honoring of this life and the contributions that Samer Ertan gave, but also the resistance and the efforts against racism that she was trying to fight against. And so I think that there are also a lot of, maybe I stop there and we can ask another question. I could go on forever.
What I really is striking about this project is, these are one of these rare projects where there's just not only one community. Yes, so there are a lot of community projects where they say we need to honor these people. You actually had another approach. You actually just said we wanted to honor life, but now more specifically, where does this inspiration come from and why are you doing this kind of work, working out a remembrance culture with the affected people?
I think it's just, again, it's like, why talk about these things without the people who actually know, who are there? As Ibrahim Arslan says, like, we are the main witnesses to what happened. And so it's also in that way, it's really trying to challenge our perceptions of what being a victim means, for instance. So often in society, we tend to blame the victim. We tend to see victims as weak. We tend to tell them that they brought this on themselves, and we tend to separate ourselves from them. But in actuality, these people have been speaking for decades. And they have been fighting for a better future for all of us. And I think that there's a lot of power, there's a lot of strength. Of course, there is also grief, there is also pain, but I think it's important to recognize that we as human beings, we carry all of that within us. And I think that these people, when you listen to them, and when you go to the website and take the time to really look at the videos and to really hear them, you can sense that and you can understand that and you can recognize also your own responsibility and place in that fight and in this solidarity and coming together to enact that change within our cities.
And now people now would say, okay, this is political work. Why is it art? So my question here is, Talya, you're an artist but also a political activist. Why is this for you like also an art project?
I think art has a power to give us a space to listen in a different way, for instance. I would like to believe that, of course, this is not the end-all situation. Like, it would not be possible, this project, without the people who are involved with the project, without their willingness, their trust, their voices, the fact that this fight that they have been having and that they've been doing not only on the political stage, but also within education to create real change. It's not... this project is one piece of that in a lot of ways. And so I think that in that sense, I as an artist see it as my way or my tool that I can use in order to fight, in order to change, in the hope that in offering these alternative spaces, perhaps we can get people listening in a different way, or reach people in a different way. But it's one way.
And there's another thing. We called here at the Republica this event digital remembrance. The question now, but you mentioned the digital space, but also the real space. I mean, for example, Samurai Altan, the street is right down this corner, and this interaction between the digital space and, let's say, the real space, in a way, whatever reality means in a way here. So what is really funny is that you always have this interaction between the real space and the digital space. And not only that, you actually show your work in museums.
Yes.
You show your so this doesn't stay a website. It is a living space. Why are you doing this?
Well, I think it goes back to this, the other question too, the different paths that we can reach people. So the digital space is one. The physical space in like more museum spaces or exhibition spaces is another. On the street is another, and that's also something that we're developing at the moment. QR code stickers that can be put up around the city in these spaces, so you can kind of use your phone and join into or listen to the voices directly in the space itself. So that's another path. Also, we're working on publications. So we have one that was done by the NS Documentation Center in Munich at the moment. It's quite beautiful. If you have a chance to go to Munich, they're free. You can just pick one up. And so that's another way, another path, another way. At the same time, so many of the people who are working with me on this project, the families, survivors, they themselves have been working for many years within schools and are working with me to help me kind of see how we can also bring Wir sind hier as an educational tool. So it can move within a lot of different spheres, which is quite powerful, quite exciting. And so I see a very big future, of course. It's still in the beginning.
So you mentioned like Munich already. So like a small commercial, when you have the time, when you are in Munich, please go to the NS Documentation Center, NS Dokumentationszentrum, and please participate at this exhibition you have developed. Then, like before we show at least like one video, one last question. Mm-hmm. You met so many people. You met so many communities. You met so many different trauma. What is there one lesson you could provide for today?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is, again, that it is different for every person, that this remembrance or this, the power of listening and taking the time carries such a strong and valuable weight. And I think that's also what this project is trying to encourage everyone who visits the website or the exhibition is, how are we listening to these people, to these voices, to each other? And are we taking the time to do that, to really listen? And I think that that's also been part of the process of the project, is the taking the time. And a really good example, I think, is when I was spending time with the family of Giuliano Coleman, who was killed in Munich in 2016. It was with his grandmother, and we were traveling and going to the different places that were Giuliano's favorite places. So the football field, the youth center, his school, all of the places where he lived. And his grandmother said to me, you know, so often people ask me about his death, and no one has ever asked me about his life. And I think that that's such an important and valuable lesson, is, are we asking about the lives? And are we asking about those lives not only on the days of remembrance, like, for instance, in Giuliano's case, the 22nd of July when he was killed, but are we asking on every other day of the year? And I think that's also an important thing to take away for this. Yeah, and maybe we take a few minutes now to watch a video.
Yeah, now so what kind of video are we going to watch, Talya?
I think we have a few minutes, so I would love to show you one of the more recent films in remembrance of Yan Ngoc Chau and Doan Lan, who are
Who are
they were two young men from Vietnam who came over to Germany as refugees in the 80s, or late 70s, early 80s. And they were killed on the 22nd of August in 1980 here in Hamburg. The friends and fellow survivors from that attack have been fighting for a long time for this attack to be recognized as a racist attack in Hamburg, and to rename the street of the building where they were killed. And just this past year, after many, many years of fighting, they were able to get that street name renamed. And so the survivors and the friends of Nhang Ngoc Chau and Doan Lan, we did this project together and this film together, and I hope you can hear it.
Kính thưa các hội đoàn, quý đồng hương, kính thưa quý quan khách cùng anh chị em. Chúng tôi rất vui mừng, đặc biệt là ngày hôm nay, được đứng trước mặt quý vị và anh chị em.
I try to translate.
Để phát biểu vài lời.
I'm very happy that you participate at this very day.
Vì đã 10 năm nay, chúng tôi đấu tranh để giành lại danh dự cho hai anh Châu và Lân. Cuộc đấu tranh quá dài
for a
nhưng
new
có kết quả tốt.
street here in Hamburg
Chúng
to
tôi đã được
remember
sự
you.
ủng hộ của các nhà chính trị, cùng các cơ quan, cũng như của các bạn. Để giờ đây được
To remember
sự kiện đấu tranh này.
You who have suffered so much. This is the building where they were killed.
Hansestadt được đổi thành Châu và Lân Strasse.
And now the Hansestadt becomes the Châu and Lan Street.
Họ đã phóng hỏa vào phòng của hai anh đêm 20 tháng 8 năm 1980.
You are the very first Vietnamese people in Germany who get a street. And now they remember you and remember what happened on August the 20th, 1980. We are very proud of you.
Hai anh Châu và Lân thương, người ta muốn quên hai anh vì đối với họ,
Châu and Lân, the people in Germany, they want you to forget you. They want to forget you because they pretend that you are not family, that you are not part of
những gì các anh phải gánh chịu trong đêm 20 tháng 8 đó không là một sự kiện để họ quan tâm. Hôm nay chúng tôi hãnh diện và hân hạnh được đứng dưới đây.
But today we can declare
mang tên hai anh, đó là
that you are here with us.
Và cho chúng tôi, và nhất là đó là một niềm an ủi lớn lao.
And this is a great thing.
Người mẹ đau khổ của Lân đang sống số tuổi quạnh hiu một mình.
And it shows that you are not alone anymore.
And the transcriptions are also here, so for translation of the videos.
So because of this speed, I wasn't able to translate everything in detail. So please read the text on the website. Talya, thank you so much. I think it's time.
Thank you all so much.
Please go to Wir sind hier as on the website. Please visit the Dokumentationszentrum in Munich and have a great day on the Republica here in Hamburg. Thank you so much. Thank you, Talya.
Thank you, Dante. Thank you all.